Abraham Lincoln said, "If you want to see a man's true character, give him power." And I firmly believe that. See, when I talk about moderators, moderators have power in many regards. They have financial power, they have influential power, they have societal power. They live in secrecy, meaning it is hard for them to be liable for anything. It is hard to go after them. It is hard to harass or belittle them. It is hard to attack their character. And even when they do have a name and a face, usually they have the money to protect themselves from those minor threats anyway, such as Mark Zuckerberg, or Mood of 4chan, or Stia 4chan. And all of this is intertwined. They have the societal power, they have control over their environment and their people because they have the money to, and they have the money to because they have that control. I'm not saying moderators do not exhibit traits and skills that make them, weak and subservient. It's far from that. That's completely opposite. They have power, and it's obvious in the way they act with other people. But the problem is they use that power for ill. They have been bestowed with a blessing to have the ability to convince people to worship them, to cooperate with them, and ultimately to give their money, their labor, their time, their effort to them. And they take credit for all of it every step of the way. Every step of the way that the community brings more to the table, more discussion, more intelligence, more innovation, they take all the credit for it, and thus they accumulate more power for themselves, and at the same time, they're completely malevolent with it. Now, even to suggest that they would be benevolent with it is just ridiculous, because the fact is they are taking from other people. They are not saying that everyone is contributing. They are saying they are contributing, and that you're just there for the ride, even though you're the one making the videos, you're the one making the blogs, you're the one, there contributing to that inner world. But somehow moderators are the sole creators, the sole responsible entity that makes all this possible, and we should be so lucky as to have them around. That's what bothers me about moderators, the fact that they're so full of themselves, so hubris as to say that, and then other people believe it. So it just all adds up to this very evil and very despicable equation. And you have to ask yourself, what would you do in that situation? What would you do if you had that kind of influence over other people, where you had that kind of charisma, that kind of money, that kind of, experience, where you could get people to do what you wanted them to do, in whatever form that takes on? Would you use it for good, or would you use it for evil? Would you use it for self-benefit, or would you use it selflessly? Moderators are never selfless. They cannot be selfless by their nature. In order for them to be selfless, they would have to give up their moderator status. They would have to give up the control. They would have to give up the credit they give themselves. They would have to give up the money. They would have to give up the monopoly of the resources. They are not going to do that. So you have to do that. You have to take those things away from them. You have to discredit them. You have to humiliate them. You have to assault them. You have to, denigrate them and degrade them. You have to make them look like the bad guy. They are the bad guy, but nobody else seems to believe that. You have to bring them down to your level. And we are not responsible for how we act. We are the ones without power. We are the ones without leverage. We are the victims. We are the prey. And it is up to us to survive. That is our only moral, obligation, is to survive. And whether you believe that is fight or flight is irrelevant. The fact is, you cannot flight at this point. There is no running away. No matter where you run away to, there will be a moderator predator waiting for you. So you have to fight. And you have to be willing to be as cruel, malicious, and petty as possible in order to survive, to live another day, to see your wings sprout out and be able to fly. You are not going to be able to ascend to a greater level as long as there are moderators around to keep you down. So you have to be willing to suck it up and fight these people. But are you willing to do that? Are you willing to see the world for what it really is? That there are people out there that have all the potential in the world, and they're pissing it away, controlling you, subjugating you, subverting you, conspiring against you, just so they can make themselves feel better, just so that they can have their shits and giggles, just so that they can secure their seat of power, just so they can say, I'm the best, everybody else, fuck them. That's what it comes down to. Are you willing to live in a world like that? Why? Why are you willing to deal with that when you could have something better? Certainly anything's got to be better than that. That's really what I have to say when I talk about moderators.